Okay, so hello everyone. We will start the conference. I'm Margot. I'm the president of Technomed. First of all, thank you for your presence this afternoon for our fifth Digital Week conference. We are pleased to welcome today Luisella Giani, EMEA Head of Industry and Strategy Transformation at Oracle, for the following theme, Digital Acceleration during the Pandemic. Feel free to ask your questions in the chat during the conference so that we can answer them in the time dedicated at the end of the conference. And for our French-speaking audience, we ask that you ask your questions in English, please. I now give the floor to Luisella Giani.
Hi, hello everyone, and thanks a lot for the introduction. Thanks, Margot. And again, apologies if I don't speak French. I do understand a bit of French, but I'm not fluent. And today I would like to talk to you about some observation and some analysis that we have done as Oracle to investigate what was the impact of COVID, in both the digital acceleration and in the framework of the digital acceleration. Also, what was the role of artificial intelligence and machine learning? And we will see, some interesting findings related to how our behavior change and how AI-based algorithm could be truly useful also, to guide us into acceleration of digitalization. First of all, there is, a kind of things that happened, that I think we are all aware. Unluckily, it seems that 2020 was considered one of the most stressful year at work. And this is like the result. We have done this survey that is called AI at Work. If you Google it, you can find, the full report. And we interview over 12,000 people in 11 countries. And, the result, it means close to 90% of them declared, 2020 was the most stressful year I ever had during my professional life. Why? Unluckily, due to the pandemic. And, there are, some interesting findings. On one side, it's really stressful. And, 85 of the people claimed that the pandemic was causing them insomnia, difficult relationships, sadness, a sense of isolation. So really negative. And also many of them, they were really concerned that this could have an impact also on their career. Why? Because they thought, I'm not going at office, so I can't show fully to my manager or to my leaders the commitment, the effort that I'm doing. And so my career path maybe will be slower also because I'm not going at office and for this reason. So this is like the negative part. On the other side, I think we all discovered some new way of working because 75% of the people interviewed claimed, we would like to keep working from remote even after the pandemic is over. Why they like to do so? Because they realize that they have much more flexibility. They can work from anywhere. They are saving a lot of time when commuting from work from home. They can spend more time with the family. So there are a lot of positive, and there are the negative and the positive. For sure was extremely stressful year, but also discovering some new way of working. Then let me introduce a framework I would like to use today to I use this framework, to better understand what is happening to us, because I'm not happy often when we are using, new normal, next normal, this kind of way of describing our reality, because I simply think that normal is a dynamic concept, So everything can happen to us after is a standard, it becomes normal, but I don't think that this is going to explain in full what we are living today accelerated by the pandemic. So it's a truly acceleration of digitalization, and you can find a lot of analysis and report. Depending by the industry, you may see an acceleration that could be up to 7 years if you think about manufacturing, or 2-3 years if you think about other sector, for instance, like retail. And what is really happening and what we do mean in terms of acceleration of digitalization. Means that we do use software as intermediaries for our activities. And this is the reason why I do like this framework that is low touch and high touch. What does it mean? There are a lot, and this digitalization is not something that is starting now, okay, with the pandemic. It's something that started already many, many years ago. Now we see this accelerated due to the pandemic. With high touch, for instance, what we mean? We mean, for instance, a face-to-face relationship. We can have a physical interaction. So it means I go to a shop, I buy something, I talk with the shopping assistant. But you can think about also related to a physical object, okay? Maybe I want to buy a car. Let's say I want to buy a Ferrari, okay? Maybe I want to just have a test drive, and I will have a strong physical relationship also with this kind of object because I touch it, okay? I have something that is really emotional and is an experience. And this is the high touch mode. What we are doing, accelerated by the pandemic, we are in a way using often some software or some intermediaries to move from a high touch relationship to a low touch and no touch. Low touch, one example could be even, if you are using a marketing automation tool, you may go in a low touch mode because it means some activities are managed automatically, okay, by the tool. Other activities could be managed by you. It means you pick up the phone, you call your client, or maybe you go and visit your client. No touch is also something that is happening a lot during the pandemic. So just think about chatbot, voice bot, digital assistant, and I will provide you some example. We started using them much more. Generally speaking, these moving from high touch to low touch and no touch is applicable strongly, to the way we are working, but also to marketing, sales, and service activities. But we will see, some example during my speech. One example, okay, and this is the result of another survey that we have done. This survey is called Money and Machine, and in this case, we interview over 9,000 people in 14 different countries. And this is back to what I was saying to you. We are moving to this low touch mode, also because people are gaining much more trust on artificial intelligence and machine learning driven system. For instance, this survey, what revealed to us that 67% of the people will trust more an algorithm to manage their finances than a human. And you see some differences, okay? If we talk with business leaders, so people that are using probably machine learning already in their company, is 77%, so is higher even compared to the normal consumer. But this is interesting because even 63% of the people that maybe they don't use machine learning for work, they really trust a lot algorithm. This is like really interesting because if we do compare this data to what we were observing a few years ago, we do see a strong increase of trust, okay, on algorithm trust in machine learning. Then what business leaders think that a bot could help them doing? And we are using robot, okay, but the meaning is AI-based algorithm. So obviously they can be different different type of algorithm. This is really interesting because, activities that are really standard, like approvals, okay, or budgeting and forecasting, reporting, compliance and risk management. So activities that maybe today are done by analysts or are done by the finance team, business leader, they will trust better a robot, a bot, an algorithm to do those. Why? Because they're really standard and they are data driven. So you can easily delegate to an algorithm to do these activities. And, if we are going to analyze And then what? Okay, what the human should do next if we are delegating to the algorithm some activities. Really important, communicating with your customer. So this is really the human value, being effective in communication and also being effective maybe when there are difficult communication. Negotiating discount and approving transaction. Negotiating discount, this is really important because this is like still a really sensitive area, both for the customer and both for the company. And in this case, also to take a decision, the algorithm can suggest the best direction to do. We usually call it next best action, and this is the power of the support in terms of decision making. So the algorithm can suggest this is the threshold, this is what I will suggest you to do in this scenario, because I've analyzed all the different data, historical, in the context, and so on. But finally, the decision is still in the finance team. And if we look at the other side, what consumer would like to have, where they would like to have the help of a human instead of an algorithm, when not difficult to understand, but when they need to buy something that is a major purchasing decision. So what does it mean? Buying a house, a car, planning for retirement. So decisions that are really important, they have an impact in our life. And so in this case, they will trust more a human than a machine. But for all standard activities or that are really led by data analysis, they will prefer instead a machine. Then let's going back to the other survey that we have done, and I mean, for me, is extremely enlightening, and I will come back to this data also during my speech. So we saw, okay, 2020 was extremely stressful, okay, stressful, and people, they were uncertain about their work, about what to do, and so on. Anyhow, 75% of the people we interviewed, they claimed that artificial intelligence already helped them at work, especially for relieve them from this sense of stress. Why? Because fast, 31% declared, okay, AI has helped us by providing the necessary information for performing our job. And we will see an example later. The example is from Mondadori, is an Italian publishing house. Then 27% automating some task. We saw some example before, okay, like for instance, automating approval, report, risk management, and so on. And the result is that for some of them is, okay, yes, it reduced my stress because, I can delegate to the machine some activities that I would have done myself. So it's like having, a smart colleague together with you, and you can trust and you can rely on this smart colleague. This is also telling us that we do have a lot of new needs, okay? New needs that are at work and not only. So new needs that we do live today in our way of working, but new needs also, for as a customer, and new needs with our clients. And we tried also to find a way of calling these new needs that are accelerated by the pandemic. And we invented a kind of new way of considering this. And this is like, we call this the economy of caring. What does it mean, the economy of caring? That you is now imperative that you take care about your employees, about your customer, about even the environment. And we will see some example also how artificial intelligence and machine learning is helping you to take care, okay, not only about yourself, not only about your employee, but also about, your client, the environment, all the ecosystem that is around you. And this will become even more and more important in the next coming years. And we identified, 3 areas where, again, artificial intelligence and machine learning are truly helpful into being sure that you are accelerating and you are your life, on caring about people, your company, your clients, and the environment is much easier and much more effective. One area is personalization, okay? And I will provide you some example about personalization. But long story short, what does it mean? The algorithm is going to help you to analyze in real time data that could be related to employee, related to clients, and so on. And then what you can offer is much more effective because it's truly personalized. So you may offer a really personal experience. And this can be applicable, if you think about your people. It means that I can offer learning paths that are personalized, or I can offer career paths that are personalized and so are really fitting with the need. Or I can offer also flexibility in terms of timing, because you may think that someone maybe need to take care of the kids because they are now they are not going to school, okay, but they are at home. And so, maybe the person would like to start working at 9:30, or, have a pause, between 2:30 and 3:30. Okay, you can be really flexible and really personalized because thanks to the data. And this is valid again, the system. The algorithm is going to suggest you what is the next best action to do in this specific context, because can fast analyze a lot of data that are both, coming from different sources. But this is applicable also to what you can offer also to your customer and your clients. And I will provide you some example later on. Self-service, this is really important because, again, you may empower your employee, your customer, almost everyone to complete activities by themselves. When we saw the result of the study, when we see, okay, people, they appreciate algorithm because they can get really fast, in real time, almost 24/7 information that are useful for them. And this is an example. And I often call it not only self-service, but self-empowerment, because you can fix something directly by yourself in almost no time. And this is, again, why this is linked to AI and machine learning, because all the world of digital assistant, so chatbot and voicebot, is one of the branch of artificial intelligence. And finally, we consider, that digital empathy is a bit the result of those, okay, of personalization, self-service. If you add to this, considering what we call user experience and design, so UX and UI, that is linked, is merged, and is enhanced, okay, with the data, with the concept of personalization or even self-service, you get the sense of digital empathy. And what does it mean, digital empathy? And it's a kind of new concept that this definition is from 2015. What does it mean? In apparent, you may think, okay, if something is digital, is cold, while empathy is something human. So this could seem a paradox, but it's not a paradox, and I will, explain you why. Why? Because also thanks to digital, you can fast analyze and evaluate and understand, recognize your customer or your employee internal state, because there are a lot of signals, okay, that you can, that in this case are data, but are not only data. Those you give a meaning and you give an interpretation, so they become signals about what the person feel, what the person think, and what the person wants. So this is all the point of understanding what is the intent, and then be sure that you do provide to the person, to the user, what they are truly looking for. And this is where, algorithm can help you a lot, not only because, there is an analysis of data that can be done in real time, so again, can suggest, but also, something that can be done at scale, because it's fast and is happening in real time. So it's not something that you need, to call the person one by one, but it's something that you can automatize and do at scale. So here, I will show you a couple of examples, okay, that are going from different activities that you can do, where I think that we can consider this a digital empathy. For instance, back to just imagine, an experience in one e-commerce, okay, or where you people, they are looking for something, okay. It doesn't mean that it's like a product, but could be a service. There is something that we call intuitive search experience. What does it mean, intuitive? Because instead of delivering to your user hundreds of results that maybe are not fitting with what they are looking for, you will deliver like really few results, but truly fitting with what they're looking for. How you do it? Okay, usually this works better if your users are logged in, because it means you do have more data, more information. But as soon as people are browsing and clicking on some area of the page, you can refine your knowledge and you can refine also the result that you are offering them. And this is, is a form of digital empathy, because you are not overloading me with information, but you give me what I'm looking for, so you understand my intent. And so it's something that is efficient and is empathetic for me, because I'm not wasting time. Okay, so it's useful to me. Then you can think the same also for marketing activities. Okay, so just imagine that I keep with the e-commerce example, but we could do more. That I'm leaving, for some reason I'm part of a journey, but for some reason I'm not anymore in this journey, I'm doing something else. So you may want to send me almost in real time, for instance, an email, a push notification. And why this is empathetic? Because it's contextual, so it's personalized for me and is happening in the context when I'm looking for something. Or, we can have the same example, and this is a really classic use cases for e-commerce. Next best offer or next best product or product recommendation. So I'm just going to suggest to the person that, maybe the person is interested in something that is really contextually related. So it's not, that if I'm looking for a washing machine, I got suggested, okay, why you are not looking also for trekking shoes, because those two items are completely not related. Is if I'm looking for trekking shoes, I'm suggested to look, for instance, for a trekking bag or a trekking jacket. Okay, so this is the contextual item we are talking about, and again, you can do this thanks again to the data and thanks to algorithm. Why this is important, okay? Because, I was providing you this example related to e-commerce, and I will go back to that later on, because we see with the pandemic an increase of e-commerce, okay? So someone is even calling this home delivery of everything. Again, there are some surveys that were done in North America, and someone was comparing the 10 weeks of lockdown we had last year for e-commerce was equal to 10 years in terms of acceleration of usage of e-commerce. And what does it mean? This is also bringing us that people are using less and less cash, and we can expect that people will keep not using cash anymore. So we are going through this cashless society, as someone is calling that. So, and you see, based on the money and machine study we have done, only 9% of people, they say, I do expect to use cash after the pandemic. This is important because, is like, again, another trend is accelerated by the pandemic. So together with e-commerce, also going to the cashless society. Another example, and this is a bit more related to activities that are related to finance management or supplier management. Also, we do see why this is called digital empathy and personalization, because the activity of, for instance, a finance manager or a supply chain manager or a procurement manager are much easier. So it means that in this case, the algorithm can be truly helpful into some activities. I'm not entering in the detail, but what I mean is detection of anomalies. Okay, this is like the typical application of AI. So it means that usually the algorithm is much more able, is better than a human into recognizing all these anomalies, because can recognize also some weak correlated pattern. And so it's really useful for detecting anomalies, but also detecting fraud. Or, also this is linked also to mitigate the risk, or again, automatizing some of those activities that are like document recognition, or here you see suggesting about payment discount, or even suggesting, analyzing all the data, what are your virtuous suppliers and what are the less virtuous supplier, and suggesting you, okay, you can offer a discount to this supplier, to this client, because I can see historically that they are truly reliable. Okay, those are some high-level example, but also expense management. For instance, in Oracle, we are using algorithm for managing, recognizing all the expense, and so it's not something that anymore a person has to do, input the data, but the system is doing automatically. And this is for me is linked to also again the result that we saw coming from money and machine study. You see, people trust more bots over human in detecting fraud, okay, for the reason I explained you. Algorithms are much better than human in detecting fraud, creating invoices, also because this is a really standard activity, really used, and also conduct cost and benefit analysis, again, because often this is a number comparison. And then, also this one is the business professional. What consumers think, okay, also detecting fraud, I think they both agree. Reducing spending and investing in the stock market. What does it mean? People, they are gaining much more trust in, for instance, robo-advisor, or also on all those systems that usually your bank may offer you, where they analyze the way you spend your money, and they may suggest you, okay, maybe this month you spent too much in fashion or in food. I will suggest you to reduce spending because you are like plus 10% compared to the average that you do have every month. Okay, so, and this is that there is an increased trust on receiving this kind of suggestion, also to manage your own finance. Here, again, I'm not going in deep because, we will take probably the next of our time. But, this is simply to show to you how much is already extended the usage of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And this is the reason why we say AI and ML everywhere. So those are examples of specific use cases that as Oracle you can switch on. Okay, so this is, and I will spend a couple of words about our strategy, but this is what we do call the artificial intelligence application. Why? Because all those use cases are already embedded in our software, so are embedded already in the marketing cloud or in the finance cloud and so on. So it means, and why those use cases? Because we analyze the market, we analyze all the different industries, and we identified those use cases are the typical use cases that business leaders are looking for. And so to facilitate also the embracing of AI, is say, okay, you switch it on, and how it works. Those are using already the data that you are storing, you are collecting when using the software, and they empower those data with some standard use cases. What does it mean? Okay, to give you a kind of overview, because also the way, you can use artificial intelligence and machine learning and what is the Oracle strategy could have different ways based also on the needs someone has. What I was sharing with you is what we call the artificial intelligence apps. Okay, so it means that you use it as embedded in the system, and that's the reason as we say ready to go. So you say based on the use case, you decide to switch it on, and then you start using, and obviously more you use, more the algorithm is going to be trained and improved. Then there is a second way, for instance, we call it ready to build, and usually, sorry, I forgot, in this first way, it means you don't need a team of data scientists, okay? You don't need to reinvent the wheel, you simply use it, okay? So, and this is applicable also to the digital assistant, and I will provide you some example. In the second case, let's imagine that you do have, you have invested already a lot in machine learning and AI. You have a big team of data scientists. So probably what you need to do, you want also to accelerate the time to market of your data science team. So what they can do, you want maybe to share what they are doing in different team, in different business unit. And so you may use what we call the data platform for machine learning. For instance, this is also the result of some acquisition we have done as Oracle. So it means a data platform allow to all the different data scientists to share libraries, to share piece of code, to share best practices, to communicate each other. And so as a result, you accelerate also the time to market. Or, for instance, you do have, this is the third approach, ready to work. Just imagine that you do have a specific case, okay, a specific use cases that maybe is really specific for your business processes or for your sector. And you say, I didn't find a solution in these ready-to-go use cases. I need something specific for me. So in that case, probably what you will use the Oracle Cloud, or in some cases the Oracle Autonomous Database, and you will have and you will probably use some standard framework like TensorFlow or Caffe, and you will have your own data scientists that are going to develop something specific for you. But then all those different approach could be also mix and match. Then what is also important, and I will provide you some example, because I think this is also, we saw a big increase of usage of digital assistant and chatbot during the pandemic. On top of all those different approach, we are also investing a lot in the digital assistant, because we believe that this is the easiest way for humans to interact with machine. Why? Because we talk each other, okay? A human will talk to another human, so a voice bot is a natural way of interaction, but also a chatbot is a natural way, because, we are all of us, we spend our time and days on WhatsApp and so on. So this will become even more important in the future, because if you think about, 20 years ago, at the beginning of the internet, we were using the keyboard, okay, to interact with the machine. 10 years later, we were starting using social media. So we were uploading picture, photos, video, you think about Instagram and so on. And it was even a bit more visual way. Now, starting, probably from 2015, we interact with machine writing, in a chatbot or talking. And this is, back to AI at work, the research. This is also confirmed, by the study. In a really provocative way, because one of the questions we had to the panel of people we interview was assuming, okay, we know you told us that you are really much more anxious and stressed during the pandemic, but would you prefer to talk about your situation, okay, of stress and anxiety with a chatbot or with your manager? Big surprise, okay, 68% of the people claimed I would prefer to talk with a chatbot about my stress situation instead of talking with my manager. And when you ask to the people why, okay, why this is happening, that you trust more a chatbot than your manager, the feedback was, you know what, the chatbot doesn't judge me, okay, the chatbot is really neutral, doesn't interrupt me when I'm speaking. I can exit easily from the conversation and I can start back a conversation. And so I think that the chatbot could be better than my manager in this specific situation. So obviously this is food for thought. But we saw, and I'm being a bit fast because I see that we still have 20 minutes only. So, and we would like also to take some questions. We see this big rise of digital assistant in a lot of different sectors, okay? So, and those are some examples of what we see happening. For instance, during, at the early beginning of the pandemic, we were helping the New York State, but also the Red Cross in Spain and many other to communicate what was happening. And for instance, the Red Cross was using the Oracle Digital Assistant also to engage all the different people that wanted to offer themselves as volunteers, to help out with the pandemic. And was really easy because it was a set of questions, and it was on both sides. I mean, to engage with the volunteers, but also to provide, real fast information about, okay, what I can do or what I can't do. Similar situation, New York State, and New York State, there are close to 20 million people. They were using also the digital assistant and all our service software, also to be sure that they could train, a lot of people into replying also to calls, because, citizens, they wanted to know what they could do, what was happening, and so on. Really used also by university. We saw a lot of university that started using the digital assistant also for facilitating the registration process at the new academic year, but also for providing the result about an exam. And this can happen also via WhatsApp, Facebook, and so on, because, maybe people at my time, we were going into the university building and checking, okay, is my name is a pass, not passed. Now, can be a bit more private, and you can ask the chatbot to check for you, okay, if you pass an exam or not. Or we saw, for instance, other example, this is like called the tournament butter, okay? So it means that it was launched during the Austrian Open, because, it was helping, people to find a route when they were going to the tennis tournament, to really share personalized information, game schedule to be multi-language. You can have information in your language and so on. Or Engie, okay, this is utilities. Also Engie, they wanted a bit to refresh also the way they were doing recruitment, because they wanted to attract younger people. And so they started using, again, a digital assistant for managing some aspect of the recruitment. Or there is, also Hilton, that launched already a few years ago a chatbot that is called Ask Connie. Okay, it can do a lot of useful activities also for their own employee. Okay, so this is not related to external, but to their own employee. And then there is the Mondadori case that I like to share, because I think is really an iconic example. Okay, they decided to launch a digital assistant during the pandemic, so last year, across 2,000 employees in Italy and North America. Mondadori is a publishing company. They do publish books, but also they do manage events at museum and these kind of activities. And they were really surprised. Why? Because first they were able to engage 3 different generations. They were expecting, that young people would be enthusiastic, but actually everyone was enthusiastic. So even older employee. Why? Because they claimed that this was available 24/7, was really easy to get information also related to the pandemic, and this is like confirmed by the success rate. So if you are familiar with chatbot training, it means to have like a 92% of success rate in ability to reply. It means that the training was done really well, because what does it mean? 92% of the time, people, they found what they were looking for. So again, for me, this is another example of digital empathy, but also self-service, but self-empowerment, because I can find what I'm looking for really fast. And then, this was for them really useful to facilitate also embracing, the concept of home working and remote working. I will provide now just a couple of other examples, because I believe are really important to understand what is happening today. In short, we talk a lot about AI and machine learning, but what is happening, you do have all different disruptive technologies. Also, if you consider Internet of Things on blockchain, are aligning. What does it mean? Often machine learning is useful every time you are able to collect data. And so you can apply machine learning to develop, specific algorithm. Often, you can get data from sensors and so on, or then you can use those data also for blockchain. One example of this is this application that is, maybe the archaeological site of Pompeii is really famous archaeological site in the south of Italy. So we recently launched an application that is called My Pompeii. And what it does, okay, is going to facilitate the visit of Pompeii, guaranteeing full safety, but also digitalizing some activities. So it's all in this concept that we call a bit low touch, or someone call even touchless, okay? So it means first, when you book a ticket online, and then when you go and you enter at Pompeii, you scan the QR code. So again, this is fully touchless. And then thanks to the application, what you can do, you can see in real time where are people. Okay, so it's a kind of heat map. You see where there are more people or less people, and so you can decide the route. Actually, is the application that is guiding you, okay, in the best route to visit the site. Plus, obviously, you do have all the information. So it means information about, okay, what is this site about, or this specific. You can have a really advanced guide into guiding you in the site, but also these information that are truly useful. And also, this is also useful also for the staff, because they can monitor who is going to visit, the site, and they can also provide information and so on. So evolution of that, this is like the first launch, but they are already thinking that they would like to start using the blockchain to better monitor who is there. But you may think also about augmented reality, because you may want to reconstruct, some area how they were during the Roman time, just using the app. And this is like part of what we call smart tourism. And we do see, again, an acceleration of launching, those kind of applications that were available also a few years ago. But now, due to the pandemic, we do see an increase. And then we see many other examples that are around the smart city. Usually you use the data, okay? You use machine learning to enable to do some activities that could be either, there is this interesting example that we launched in San Francisco about smart parking. Again, there is an application that is guiding you into find the parking spot. Obviously they had a really good KPI out of that, because it's not only decreased traffic, but apparently, there is also people, a lower number of kind of penalty you get because you don't park in the right spot. But okay, I'm not going in deep into that, because, I think we do have 15 minutes, but if you are interested to know more about what we are doing in smart cities and so on, you can get in contact with me via LinkedIn. There is also a really nice example of all those different use cases. We developed a city made with Lego. It's called Proxima City, where you do have a Cosmo robot that is going around and is explaining all the different use cases that you may do in a smart city, again, having, Internet of Things, blockchain, and machine learning together. Why I'm sharing this example of smart city? Okay, because in a smart city, you do have a lot of technologies that are together and are together for the good. And then also because the topic of sustainability is a topic that is also, was extremely relevant also before the pandemic, but is, I think, also accelerated by the pandemic. So what I see that now there is a lot of interest into understanding how technology can help us to improve our cities, to be more efficient, and, to be much more sustainable. And here, there are some data that, are really interesting, but just think about, one of the typical use cases we do have is called waste management. So you can reduce, the waste between 25% and 40%. So it's crazy, the efficiency and the good that we can do applying technologies. And, one last point related to that, we believe, you remember at the beginning, I was talking about the economy of caring, about technology that, is an ecosystem. You need to look about yourself, about your employee, your client, the society, the environment. And this is also the way we think about caring and the way we do think about sustainability, because it's truly a collaborative initiative. I'm not going in deep talking, about blockchain and other technologies, but this is also, part of this way of seeing the ecosystem and using technology to facilitate the whole ecosystem. And, those are simply, again, some data where what we are already doing in terms of reduction of emission, or, also helping ourselves, but also helping our clients, okay, with the usage of technology in being much more sustainable. So as a recap, of what I was explaining you today, out of all these observation of what we see happening, in the market, studies and research. Those are, some of the trends that are accelerated by the pandemic and where artificial intelligence and machine learning can help out. We saw some example related to digital marketing and branding, why? Because you may offer hyper-personalized messages, hyper-personalized product, or you can really personalize the entire flow. And this could be related to sales, to marketing, to service. And there is, linked to that, this big rise, a big increase of usage of e-commerce. So this concept of home delivery of everything. And this can help you also to launch new business model. Okay, we didn't talk about subscription, but is one of the model that we see big increase. And even someone is even saying that, for instance, the message, so the content is becoming the contract, and personalized conversation are becoming commerce. So you see how, all the concept of content personalization, so marketing, sales and service are much more linked. And obviously there is a full rethink about the concept of omnichannel, or someone is calling physical or digital. So how the relationship between our physical and digital experiences are changing. Caring, not service. So this is the third piece of that. So it means service maybe is important, but the concept now is a bit more relevant, is taking care, okay, taking care of your people, taking care of your client and so on. And you may want to link this also to a different concept of loyalty. Loyalty, if you are like doing everything right, okay, you are taking care of your people, of your customer, of the society, of the environment, you may attract people that are loyal because they share your brand values. So they are truly and active loyal and not just price driven. Okay, so this is another topic for another conversation, but I think it's really interesting how the pandemic also is changing this concept of loyalty. Automation, private and work identity. We are all working from home. So I think we were struggling, especially at the beginning, to understand what is our private or work identity. Anyhow, all the concept of remote working, home working, smart working is something that we will see happening in the future. And we saw also how AI and machine learning can facilitate that. We saw the example, of the chatbot, but also the personalization in learning, in facilitating people in upskilling, reskilling, understanding, how the future of the work will look like. And then sustainability. Again, this is like a topic I do care a lot. I think it is evident that we need that sustainability is at the top of the agenda, and we saw some example related to smart cities in general, how technology can help us. So thanks a lot. And, I will stop sharing my slide. And if we do have some questions, happy to reply to the questions.
Thank you. I think it was very relevant, all this information and your presentation. Before I start asking the question of the chat, I have a question personally about the fact that people prefer to talk about stress and anxiety at work with a chatbot. What are the type of answers that a chatbot can give in return to people?
Yeah,
in this case,
that's a good question. It always depends how the chatbot was trained. Okay, the chatbot is not part by itself. Is trained to reply with some feedback to a certain question. But often, and this is also really interesting because one of the first chatbot ever developed was called Eliza. Okay, this was done, if I'm not wrong, in the 60s. Okay, so many years ago. This Eliza was launched actually to talk with a mental patient. And this chatbot was mainly proving that was listening. So often, is enough or is already really helpful that the chatbot is like saying, yes, I'm listening to you, I'm caring about you, because often a lot of people, they would like to really, in a way, share what they think, but in a kind of flow, okay, without having someone that interrupt the person or give advice, okay? So obviously, the type of replies, interesting question, you need to train the chatbot also in providing meaningful reply. And this is probably the most difficult part, okay, because the chatbot need to in a way imitate, in a way, or give you a feedback that you find useful.
Okay, thank you. We have a question about this part of your presentation too. Eunice is asking, are the interactions with machines limited? I didn't understand how a chatbot can reduce the anxiety or stress, especially if the chatbot keep the data and the manager will have no access to it.
Okay, there are, I think, two or three questions in one. Okay, what they replied, how they can relieve the stress. Okay, for instance, the reply was, because I can find information fast. Okay, what does it mean? For instance, in a company, maybe let's take a really simple example. Okay, I maybe I want to know how many days I have left of holiday. So probably what I will do, I would log in a system. Maybe my system is protected by VPN. So I need to have a couple of passwords. I need to log in. I need to go into my profile, and I need to check in my profile, okay, I have 10 days of holiday left. So with the chatbot, so it means maybe take 5 minutes to me. Maybe it's not long, but it's like some time that I need to spend to log in, check, go into my profile, and so on. With, a chatbot, what I can do, assuming that it's my chatbot I'm using every day, so I'm logged in, I ask how many days I have left of holiday, and I will get this feedback in few seconds. Okay, so, and this is the example of holiday, but obviously could be applicable to, I'm looking for a dashboard. So I'm looking for some data because, for performing my work, I need to double check, if we are selling more or less, what is our financial result, and so on. I can see this this dashboard in few seconds instead of logging in, checking the data, and so on. So this is like, so it means I'm much less stressed because I can find information quicker and faster in almost no time. So this was all the point about this. And the second point was I can delegate some activities. So it means I'm not doing myself, but I simply ask the algorithm to do it for me. Because the dashboard and the data example is one example. Instead of being me that I need to go into 5 Excel, put the data in and check, I just have an algorithm that based on some indication does it for me. Obviously, there is a bit of work, to get to this point, but this is the reason why they told that this is going to relieve the stress because they can find information fast or they can delegate some activities. Second point related to I think is a bit more related to the privacy of the data, okay, or access to the data. Well, this is obviously there are privacy rules, okay, that companies are respecting. So usually there are differences between, I think, personalization and aggregation. I think usually you do have a lot of result that could be aggregated. So if a result is aggregated, is anonymous, but this could be truly useful because what companies are doing, for instance, they would like to understand employee satisfaction. Okay, if people, they do like to work for that company or they do like this and that, and usually those data are anonymous and they can look at the aggregate and they can say our employee satisfaction this year is plus 5% or is minus 1% compared to last year. And then maybe they can ask anonymous question, why our people are not satisfied, and they can take action. Okay, and this obviously is the aggregated data anonymous. If there are information related to one single employee, obviously there are a lot of rules and compliances that company need to align to. But this sometimes is also relevant that you do know if this person is unhappy, okay, because also you can take some action. You say, okay, this person maybe would like to change job, so I can facilitate this person enabling some personalized learning path, or I can match this person with some job offer in the company that the person is not doesn't know. Okay, so you can use this data in a certain way, but obviously being compliant with all the privacy rule. Usually it could be different country by country, so I may not be fully knowledgeable about France or what is working in France, but there are, obviously some compliance you need to align to.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Alexi. In the future, can IA deal with the emotions of people?
Good question. Okay, I will say yes and no. Okay, what does it mean? There are we were developing also some pilot tool, to understand that. Okay, in a way, there is a branch of machine learning that is called deep learning. Okay, deep learning is what is used to recognize, for instance, our facial expression. And usually deep learning, you need to train it, okay, but could be quite effective to recognize really strong emotion. So it means, okay, if I'm screaming or, I'm crying and so on, probably with a right matching can say, okay, this person is angry, this person is happy, this person is crying. And then you can trigger that. So deep learning recognize, your emotional state from your face. And then you can trigger, you can say, okay, I see that this person is angry. For instance, I may suggest to this person, do you want to watch a comedy movie because you can laugh a bit, okay, or and so on, or you may want to read some a book that I think is funny. Okay, you can trigger some activities, and we have done some experiment where we are not there, but again, it may depends by the training and how much this is personalized. Let's say a system recognize your facial expression, but the system doesn't understand if you are crying for joy or if you are crying because you are sad, and then can be trained. But for instance, I'm Italian, so I use a lot of hands, okay? But maybe a person from Asia, okay, will use much less hands, or the facial expression will be different because we are coming from a different culture. Or, me as Luisella, I can have some typical expression that are my expression, and only people that know me really well, they can understand what I mean. And maybe those are different from Margot expression, okay? So it means, yes, it's possible, but to be truly effective in recognizing your facial expression and so be linked to some activities that could relieve you, okay, could play with your emotion, need to be really trained ideally for the person, need to be trained on Luisella, need to be trained on Margot to recognize what my expression means. Okay, but yes, it's possible, but probably with a lot of, it will be extremely expensive, okay, I will say. So it means that probably if the concern is that, okay, recognize me and so on, no, I don't think that this is possible because it was extremely expensive. Maybe in the future we will improve and we will activate also, how, maybe a chatbot can help you out and say, okay, you are sad, I'm doing something to make you happy.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. Did the COVID help you to develop your activity and to increase the development in your company at Oracle?
Absolutely. We saw truly, when I'm saying digital acceleration is not for fun, okay, is real. Now, I can't provide, because I don't know by heart, honestly, a kind of increase. But if you are interested, there are recording about, Safra Katz, our CEO, about all these results. But, I think Oracle, like many other tech companies, saw a big increase, okay, in requests from our customer of digitalizing. And this is related a bit to everything. For sure, also related to machine learning and digital assistant, as I was sharing with you already.
Okay, thank you. We have a last question. how a chatbot can be useful for hospitality.
Yes, for hospitality, we do have already a few examples. Okay, so didn't go in deep, but Hilton is using that. We have example. Could be used also. Just imagine, okay, that you are luckily we could come back to travel really soon. Okay, but just imagine that you are traveling to your hotel. Okay, you are in the taxi. I'm giving you an example, but for instance, I'm a person that I would like to have 20-degree in my room because maybe I do know that I'm from the south of Europe, so I always feel cold. So just imagine you are in the taxi. Okay, you are connected to the chatbot with your hotel, and you can say, hey, I will arrive I'm at the airport, I will be there in 40 minutes. Could you set up the temperature in my room at 20-degree because I have this need? Or could you prepare my room with ABC because this is what I need? And this could be also almost happening in real time. And you can, even if you want to apply a lot of different technologies, if this is like, if you do have IoT sensor in your room that recognize the temperature, this can be even automatic. So the chatbot could be connected to the sensor and could set up the temperature at 20-degree, for instance. This is a really advanced example, but you can use the chatbot also for checking out. For instance, I usually eat when I need to stay 15 minutes in the morning to check out from my hotel room because maybe I'm usually late and I didn't have breakfast because I was late. So just imagine you use like the chatbot to check out, and then also your invoice will be sent out there or via email. So you just imagine there are a lot of different steps in your journey, okay, that you can automatize using, and for me, is not the chatbot itself, but can be automatized using software. The chatbot is the interface. So it means you person, you use the chatbot, but finally what you have behind is the software that is automatizing all different activities, or you can even order food. Okay, so you have the app of the hotel, you just order food, you see the menu there. And so this is really easy. And for instance, what some hotels are doing, if they don't have a restaurant, you can have embedded, the Just Eat, the Deliveroo, whatever. So you can order from restaurants nearby from your hotel if, for instance, the hotel doesn't have the restaurant in the building.
Okay, thank you. To conclude, I just have a last question, maybe in link with the previous one. But do you think that COVID crisis has changed the smart cities nowadays?
I think what has done, and I hope that it will keep the attention. There is a renewed attention. Okay, so why? Because we do know now in Europe there is also in Europe, but globally. Okay, so there is funds that are like will be defined to say how we can exit from this crisis faster. So it means that there is a renewed attention on all the concept of smart city and how we can accelerate that. Obviously, if we look at reality, okay, there are not so many cities that are smart yet. Okay, so maybe, especially in Europe, I think we may find more smart cities in Asia than in Europe still. But what I think that is happening is that there is sustainability is atop the agenda. I think also the COVID, and I'm not a scientist, so honestly, I don't have my own opinion, but, someone was linking COVID to pollution and so on. So I think people now, they think even more. And so this could accelerate the development of smart city now more compared to few years ago.
Okay, thank you. So now I think we have finished all the questions we are sent. Yes. So thank you for all for being here today. Thank you for the relevant questions, and thank you for your presentation, Luisella Giani. This live is of course available for replay on our YouTube channel. And we will see tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. On our YouTube channels too, for a conference on artificial intelligence and cybersecurity around the question, how can artificial intelligence be used to keep your emails safe? So thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.